What if I told you that Donald Trump just froze Washington's legislative machine with one demand that a bipartisan housing bill was ready for a victory lap until he pulled the plug, and that the entire fight now comes down to whether Congress will secure American elections before it gets anything else from his desk? Stick around because what happened next will blow your mind. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a normal policy dispute. This is not another empty Washington argument where politicians trade statements, blame the other side, and then quietly move on. This is a president using the one thing every lawmaker in Washington wants from him, his signature. A housing bill had passed through Congress. The cameras were ready. Republicans wanted a win on affordability. Democrats wanted a bipartisan talking point. And then Trump said no, not yet. Not until Congress moves on the Save America Act. That is the demand. That is the pressure point. And that is why Washington is suddenly burning with panic. If you want to understand why this fight matters, why Trump is turning a bill signing into a political weapon, and why Democrats are now trapped defending a position that makes no sense to most ordinary Americans, smash that like button and subscribe to the Carter Report right now. Because what we are watching is not just a fight over one bill. It is a test of whether Republicans have finally learned how to use leverage. Let me set the scene. The bill at the center of this standoff is the 21st Century Road to Housing Act, a bipartisan housing measure designed to speed up approvals, support construction, and give lawmakers something positive to sell to voters before the midterms. It was exactly the kind of bill Washington loves: safe, polished, bipartisan, and perfect for a signing ceremony. But Trump looked at that bill and saw Congress moving quickly when it wanted a headline, but moving slowly when the issue was election integrity. He saw the same pattern Republican voters have watched for years. Conservative priorities get speeches, establishment priorities get action. And this time, Trump refused to reward the pattern. He made it clear that he would not give Congress its celebration while the Save America Act sits stalled. Now, let me explain what the Save America Act actually does, because Democrats are working overtime to make it sound extreme. At its core, the bill says that people registering to vote in federal elections should provide documentary proof of United States citizenship. It also pushes voter identification standards and stronger verification of voter rolls. That is the basic principle. American elections should be decided by American citizens. That should not be controversial, but it has become controversial because the second Republicans say proof of citizenship, Democrats start shouting voter suppression. Normal Americans hear this debate and think, wait a minute, why is this even a fight? You need identification to board a plane, open a bank account, buy alcohol, enter federal buildings, collect government benefits, and do countless basic things in modern life. But somehow, asking voters to prove who they are and prove they are citizens before participating in federal elections is treated like a radical idea. That is the disconnect Trump is exposing. He is forcing Democrats to defend the indefensible in plain English. Do you believe only citizens should vote in American elections? Do you believe voters should show identification? Those are simple questions. And Democrats hate simple questions when the answers put them on the wrong side of public opinion. Now, the Senate is where this fight gets complicated. And this is why Trump decided to apply pressure from the outside. The House has already moved on this issue, but in the Senate, bills can disappear into procedure, delay, and excuses. Republicans have a majority, but because of Senate rules and the filibuster, they still need Democratic cooperation to move major legislation. And Democrats are not cooperating. So Senate Republicans tell voters the math is hard. Leadership says the votes are not there. Everyone talks about thresholds, procedure, realism, and timing. And for Republican voters, That sounds painfully familiar. It sounds like the same old story. We agree with you, we support the idea, we just cannot actually deliver it. Trump understands that frustration better than the Senate does. His entire political brand was built around rejecting that kind of helplessness. He does not win by accepting the rules as an excuse. He wins by changing the pressure around the rules. By refusing to sign the housing bill, Trump is telling Congress that if his priority can be buried, then their priorities can be delayed too. You want your housing bill? Move on election integrity. You want your photo op? Move on citizenship verification. That is hardball politics. But Trump is not operating alone. House conservatives have been building their own pressure campaign, and this is where the standoff becomes a real institutional fight instead of just another Trump headline. A group of House Republicans led by Paulina Luna and other conservatives has threatened to block bills moving from the Senate unless the Save America Act is addressed. That matters because the House majority is narrow. A small group of members can stop procedural rules. If the rule fails, the bill does not reach the floor. If the bill does not reach the floor, leadership cannot pass it. That means a determined bloc can freeze the schedule and make Senate inaction everyone's problem. This is the part Washington hates. They do not mind conservatives giving fiery interviews, angry tweets, or campaign speeches about fighting for election integrity. What they cannot stand is when those conservatives use actual leverage, and that is what is happening now. The message from the House holdouts is simple. No SAVE Act, no Senate wish list. No more letting the Senate kill conservative priorities while the House obediently processes whatever comes back across the Capitol. That is why this has created such a panic. It is not symbolic, it has consequences. Votes get canceled, bills get delayed, leadership has to negotiate, senators have to answer questions. The machine slows down, and for once, it is slowing down over something Republican voters actually care about. Now, I want to be honest because serious analysis is better than cheerleading. This strategy has risks. Some Republicans worry that freezing the floor makes the party look dysfunctional. They worry voters will hear housing bill delayed and blame Republicans for not focusing on affordability. They worry Democrats will say Trump cares more about elections than helping families buy homes. Those concerns are real. Politics is always a trade-off. But here is the other side of the trade-off. What is the point of having power if every major promise ends with the Senate would not let us? What is the point of winning elections if the same handful of procedural excuses can bury the agenda every time? What is the point of controlling Washington if the only bills that move are the ones the establishment already likes? That is the frustration driving this fight. It is not just about voter ID. It is about whether Republican power means anything. And Trump is betting that voters would rather see Republicans fight aggressively for election integrity than politely manage decline. Democrats, meanwhile, are stuck in a trap of their own making. They can say the Save America Act is unnecessary. They can say non-citizen voting is rare. Those are the arguments they prefer to make in controlled environments. But politics does not happen in a seminar room. Politics happens in slogans, questions, and instincts. And the instinct of the average voter is very clear. Citizens should vote, non-citizens should not, and showing ID is normal. Democrats can write 10-page memos explaining why they think the bill is dangerous, but Republicans only need one question. Why are you against proof of citizenship to vote? That is why Trump wants this fight out in the open. He wants Senate Democrats exposed. He wants vulnerable House Democrats asked about it in their districts. And he wants Republican senators to stop hiding behind the idea that nothing can be done. Maybe the Senate math is difficult, fine. Then make Democrats pay a price for blocking it, make them vote, make them explain, make them defend the filibuster they spent years attacking, make them stand in front of voters and say that requiring proof of citizenship is too much to ask. That is how pressure changes politics. It may not create 60 votes overnight, but it changes the cost of obstruction. And right now, Trump is raising that cost. This is why the canceled housing signing matters so much. Without Trump's move, the story would have been simple. Bipartisan housing bill passes, politicians celebrate, everyone moves on. The Save America Act remains stalled, and the media barely mentions it. With Trump's move, the story changes completely. Now, the question is why Trump refused to sign. Now, the question is why the SAVE Act is stalled. Now, the question is why Democrats oppose it. Now, the question is whether Republicans have the will to keep pushing. That is the genius of the pressure play. It turns a quiet failure into a loud confrontation. It forces everyone to choose a side. It makes comfortable people uncomfortable, and Washington cannot stand being uncomfortable. The next question is whether Republicans hold the line. That is where this fight will be won or lost. If House conservatives fold after a few angry calls from leadership, the pressure collapses. If Trump signs everything anyway after making threats, Congress learns that the demand was just noise. But if the pressure holds, if Trump keeps using his signature as leverage, if House conservatives keep forcing the issue, and if Republican voters keep calling their senators demanding action, then Washington has a real problem. The issue will not go away. The Senate will not be able to bury it quietly. Democrats will not be able to hide behind vague warnings about voter suppression. And Republican leadership will not be able to tell the base, once again, that trying was enough. That is the deeper meaning of this standoff. Trump is not only demanding a bill, he is demanding a different kind of Republican Party, one that does not just campaign on election integrity, but fights for it when the process gets messy, one that does not just complain about the Senate, but pressures it. For years, Republican voters have watched their leaders talk tough and then retreat when the real pressure arrived. This time, Trump is trying to reverse the pressure. He is telling Washington that the pain will not only go one direction. If conservative priorities are blocked, establishment priorities will feel the blockade too. That is why the housing bill became the battlefield. Not because housing does not matter, but because Washington assumed it could move that bill while ignoring the issue Trump had elevated. He is saying no. Secure the elections first. Prove that citizenship matters first. Prove that the same Congress capable of passing a bipartisan housing package is capable of protecting the integrity of federal elections. That is his demand, and whether Congress meets it will tell us a lot about who actually controls the Republican agenda. Is it the voters who sent Trump back to Washington? Is it the House conservatives willing to freeze the floor? Is it the Senate leadership trying to manage the math? Or is it the old bipartisan machine that always seems to get what it wants while the base gets excuses? We are about to find out. Because once Trump took the pen off the table, this stopped being a routine bill signing and became a test of power. The media will call it reckless. Democrats will call it dangerous. Some Republicans will call it counterproductive, but millions of voters will look at it and say, finally, someone is using leverage. Finally, someone is making Washington uncomfortable. Finally, someone is asking why secure elections always have to wait. Trump just froze Congress, and his demand could not be clearer. Pass the Save America Act or stop expecting business as usual. Stay tuned to the Carter Report, because this story is moving fast. The House will return, Senate Republicans will face more pressure, Democrats will keep trying to frame voter ID as extremism, and Trump will have to decide just how far he is willing to push this fight. But one thing is already clear. The old routine has been disrupted. Washington wanted a signing ceremony. Trump turned it into a standoff. Washington wanted a housing win. Trump turned it into an election integrity fight. And now Congress has a choice. Answer the demand or explain to the American people why proof of citizenship is the one thing this government refuses to deliver.